welcome in everyone. And we're back with another Safe in Our World stream. Today I'm joined by Antonia of Behaviour UK North.
Hi.
Today we're going to be we're going to be playing Powerwash Simulator in the Lara Croft mansion, as you can see, and we're going to talk about endometriosis as well.
Endometriosis.
Yes, I'm terrible with words, but
Yeah, no, I took me a while to get the hang of it as well, to be honest.
it's like I can't English ever. It's just
It's a
I
very long word. They make medical terms way too long.
yeah. Welcome in, Bacardian. Thanks for coming. How you doing? Bacardian is my partner, Anne. She's my little moderator, so we're like a little team, and on these Safe in the World streams. But yeah, we're going to be talking about how it affects mental health and sort of how we sort of from Antonia's perspective, from as in talking about how she manages and what it entails, and then I can possibly sort of come at it from a partner of someone with endometriosis. I'm so sorry.
You could just say endo if you want.
Endo. I'm gonna say endo. I'm so
Yeah, endo makes it easier.
yeah. I'm so sorry, everyone. My English is. Do you know? I had a Google thing on all day, and it was telling me how to say it. So I was like practicing. I was like, Jake, you can't muck this up. You've gotta learn. You've gotta. And nope, nope. Brains like nope. So, but no, it is the awareness month this month, and it's a condition that is just not talked about enough. It's not taken very seriously in the medical field, and it's something that I think Safe in Our World needed, and of course Behaviour UK North could team up and educate, but also have fun playing quite a relaxing and chill game.
Yeah.
Um,
I this game is so relaxed, and that's why I picked it, because it's so chill, and like I like playing something relaxing when I've been in pain all day, because I don't have to think. I could just sit down and just do something really chill.
Yeah, no, that's perfect really to find something that you can sort of unwind to. Um, but yeah, I mean, do you want to tell Twitch a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. I have too many cats. Is probably the only thing I can think about. We have 6 at home in London, and then me and my partner have 2 together. So
Oh,
so 8 cats. And that's probably the most interesting thing. And then obviously I have endometriosis as well, which is interesting but not as fun.
no. We have like a little zoo going as well. It's God, we have like 6 animals, all mostly all different types. Um, but we took lots of rescues in. Um, hey Wilson,
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to turn things around.
we've changed company name in the time between my stream and Tony's. It must be for. Oh, hey Liam, welcome in. Yeah, no. So I did put Behaviour North. I think I put previously Sock Monkey somewhere. Um, but yeah, no. Behaviour UK North were previously Sock Monkey, but they were acquired by Behaviour Interactive, and we've done some work in the past. We played a game with Liam, Gloomhaven, which was a really fun time. So thank you for that, Liam. I hope you're doing fantastic today. But I need to turn my audio down a slight bit because I think the power wash
It is very loud.
Yeah. We seem to have taken a lot of rescue animals in over the years, and it's become a sort of zoo.
Is it mostly cats and dogs, I'm assuming, or?
No, we've got 2 dogs, but then we've got a cockatiel, a daegu, and I love the dagus, they're so funny, and a tortoise and an owl.
Oh, okay. So no, not cats and dogs.
Yeah, not the yeah. I think sadly one of our dogs would probably like not get along with the cats, but I think our big dog would.
So where does the owl go?
So yeah, I used to work at a birds of prey centre like years and years ago, and they weren't very nice to her because she wouldn't do what they wanted her to do, and it's one of the most difficult species to train. So I rescued her. I like paid them some money. I was like, I'm taking her with me because and quit. And then we had to build a makeshift aviary and shed really quick at my parents. And then I moved down south to be with my partner, and she lives with us where she's got like an even bigger aviary attached to a shed. Hey Laffy, thanks for coming. How are you doing? Oh, thanks for the raid, Rustic. Thanks so much. Thank you. How are you all doing? But yeah, she lives in her aviary and then goes in a shed during the day. So she just lives.
That's so cool.
She's like, it's like a retired life, I call it. She's been with me for about 11 years now.
I mean, it sounds like she was worked hard, so she definitely deserves it. That's really cool, though. I've a lot of my friends and stuff rescue, but no one's rescued a bird. So that's very cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we're not bad, thanks, Rustic and Laffy. Thanks for coming. So yeah, today for those who've just come in, we're playing some Powerwash Sim, but we're also going to be talking about Endo, which is Endo Awareness Month, and it's a very sort of it's an illness that's just not taken seriously enough in the medical field, in workplaces, and I've got to be real. Like, there are too many men that just irk at the thought of talking about it, which I think's a bit silly. This is something we need to have more awareness on, and today at Safe, we're teaming up to sort of shine a light more on it in hopes that we can educate and also clean Lara Croft's mansion, because she has not cleaned up for a long time.
It is pretty filthy. So yeah, I could give a bit of an explanation on what it actually is. I have got the definition up because I do know what it is, obviously. But in all of my time having this, no medical professional has ever told me or explained to me what it is. So I just want to make sure I get everything right.
Yeah.
So endometriosis is when a tissue that's similar to the lining of your womb grows in other places of your body. When I say other places, I mean literally anywhere. The place it normally goes to first is like the ovaries and the fallopian tube, so stuff nearby. But it's very common for it to get to the bladder. I think the lungs is another common place for it to grow, but it can get anywhere. There are cases of it where it's been found in even the brain. So endometriosis gets absolutely everywhere. It causes major damage to all of those organs. Eventually, as it progresses, those organs start to get kind of stuck together with all of the scar tissue that's inside your body. The best way to describe like what it actually feels like is sticky. That your organs actually feel sticky, which is grim. That's just what it feels like. So yeah, that's what it is. It is incredibly painful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the medical definition of it.
Yeah. Yes, Laffy. Yes, it's talking about Marley. Yeah, she's Marley, but no. It's very. I know that because my partner. Hopefully, she doesn't mind. Let me just turn around and see if she minds. I think Bacardian is going to sort of talk about some of her experience, because for me personally, like, seeing her in that much pain, it's like there's nothing you can really do. You can try all sorts of things, but sometimes, like, it's so debilitating. and normal painkillers just don't really seem to make much
Yeah.
of a difference. But then doctors are kind of like, well, not much we could do. Sorry, and
So yeah, so that's a big thing, is that because it can, and it usually does, become chronic pain. So you're in pain 24/7. People don't understand that just because you're in pain all of this. First of all, people struggle to understand that you can be in pain all of the time, because like it is completely and utterly like mind-boggling. Like when I first realized that it could become chronic pain, I was like, "There's no way. There's no way you're in pain all of the time."
Yeah.
But you are. It is unimaginable to think that somebody is in pain all of the time, and especially when the pain is bad. It's not just like, oh, I've got a tummy ache or something. That is one of the hardest things that I've found that people like have to wrap their head around. It is that it is that painful, and there isn't anything to do. And that's usually my first like reaction to it when I explain it to someone is, well, it can't be that bad. And then when I explain that it is that bad, the second question is, well, then what's the cure? And there isn't.
No.
What's the treatment? There barely is treatment. The treatment, it sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't. I haven't found anything that works yet. I'm in the process of testing out a lot of different birth control pills, because that's the main way to treat it, is to try and prevent you from having periods, because when you have a period, that's how it gets worse. So trying to prevent your periods, it delays it. It delays it getting worse. It delays the inevitable, because it will still get worse, but it slows it down.
Yeah. Picardian says, I've had 3 grumbling appendix, which they think is related, but as of yet they won't refer.
That's the other thing. It takes absolutely ages to get anything checked, and because it can go anywhere in the body, it is so difficult to try and figure out, well, is this endometriosis or is this something completely unrelated? And that's something that I found really problematic when I'm trying to get help for anything, because if I go to a gynecologist, for example, and I say, hey, I've had problems here, like I'm getting a lot of urine infections, for example, they'll be like, oh, well, that's not my area of expertise. You have to go to a urologist. Then you go to a urologist and they say, well, it's probably the endometriosis, so go back to the gynecologist. So you get thrown around a lot because of that, because it goes everywhere. And so they just kind of fob you off to someone else.
Yeah. No, I know that I read up a few bits this morning, like they do sometimes with the organs, they try to sort of do surgery on removing the lining from places from the affected organs, which I didn't realise that sometimes actually results in organs being removed entirely.
Yes.
And even, well, some people do go for hysterectomy, where they remove the womb, which is just it's sad that people have to get to that point, I think.
That's not the way I see that's not a cure, nor is it a treatment. Removing the whole organ, that shouldn't be the choice.
No, I think it's quite sad, because that was on the NHS website, and I think there just needs to be more research. Bicardian says, I still get pain for some reason, even when the period wasn't there when they tried the pill.
Yeah, well, that's the situation I'm in at the moment, because I was on a different pill, and then they said, try this pill instead, so now I'm trying that. If that doesn't work, they're putting me on the Marenicol. If that doesn't work, then I'm going to be trying something where they put you into a medically induced menopause. So it's not permanent, it's more just tricking your body into thinking that you're going through the menopause.
Yeah.
So that's scary, and if that does help with the pain, that also comes with obviously a lot of side effects, because your body is going to be reacting as if it's going through the menopause. So that will be that with a lot of medication. But that's the issue, is that like she said, I like you can take the pill, the supposed treatment, and you can try all of the other supposed treatments, but there isn't a reliable one, a one that works every single time. Because I've had that surgery that you're talking about. It's called a laparoscopy, and it's the only way to get officially diagnosed, which is a whole different issue in itself. The fact that you have to have surgery just to have a diagnosis for this. And I had the scarring, or the tissue, sorry, removed with a laser, and I'm still in pain. In fact, I think this is the worst my chronic pain has been since forever.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear. Bacardian said that's what I was offered, but I wasn't ready for. That was the womb removal. And also says I feel for you, because it's just not. There's sort of a lot of conditions that I just don't think are researched enough and just sort of like battered aside. And I feel like this is one of the major ones that is not taken seriously. And like we discussed before, that like some workplaces will just think, what are you talking about? Don't be stupid, come in.
Yeah, that's a big issue, because on the surface, what a lot of people see it as is, oh, you're having a bad period.
Yeah.
Bad period doesn't cover it.
No.
Okay, bad period doesn't even touch it. So my pain got better when I started the pill originally, because nobody like who I'm. Well, there's like a few people, but nobody from where I live now knows what it used to be like. They see me now and they think like, oh, this is awful, she must be in a lot of pain, and I am. But when I was younger and when I was first having all of this and before I went on the pill, my periods were horrendous. Like, I can't even describe the amount of pain I was in. So I would wake up in the morning, and usually my period would start overnight, and I'd get up out of bed and blood would just rush like down my legs, just complete, like, because you bleed a lot. That's one of the symptoms, is you're bleeding more than you should be. Yeah. So it would just gush out of me. And then I would faint because you're not meant to lose that much blood that quickly.
Oh yeah.
And by the time I came to, the pain had kicked in full swing, so there was no time to take painkillers, no time for anything. And I spoke to my mum about this a few days ago, and she said that the pain that I was in, the best way that she could describe it is when someone's giving birth and they're in so much pain that they become like hysterical, and they're just they don't know what to, like, their body doesn't know how to handle that much pain, and they don't know how to handle that much pain. That's how much pain I was in. I would scream and cry, and then eventually it would get so bad that I would throw up, and then the throwing up, like, because my stomach was like has to contort or whatever, that would give me like the slightest respite from the pain, and so I would calm down for a second, and then because I stopped sobbing, the pain would come back again, then I would begin sobbing again, then I throw up, and I would just do that for about an hour or hour and a half while my painkillers kicked in. And then I'd pass out once the painkillers did kick in. And when I say painkillers, I'm talking about I take Nurofen Plus, which people hear Nurofen and like, oh, it's just ibuprofen. This has codeine in it. This has more codeine in it than if you just buy Cocodamol.
Yeah.
So it is a strong painkiller, and it is the only thing that touches it. And even back then, it would just make it slightly better.
Yeah.
It would make it to the point where it was manageable. I couldn't go to school, and that's my point, is that it's not just a bad period. I couldn't move. I could barely get out of bed. I couldn't go to school. I would miss 1 week a month at a minimum at one point. And I think if I remember correctly, I got like some sort of complaint from one of my teachers about missing so much school.
Yeah.
Because I was every single month I would take at least a week off because I couldn't. And I think that's what some employers and people fail to realize, is it's really not. It's really not a painful period. That is making it so utterly minuscule in compared to what it actually is.
Yeah, Rustic says, doesn't sound nice at all, I feel for you. And then Bacardian says, childbirth was actually easy because she was used to the pain of the endo.
At least I've got that going for me.
Yeah, you know. So, I mean, it's. I think, like I've said in previous streams, that it's like mental health when I was in school. So I was in school about, I don't know, 97, 96 to 2006 maybe, and mental health and all sorts wasn't spoken about, and even periods, like I never learned about what endo was because nobody told me until I met Bacardian. Like, nobody tell you these things, and I think, like, they should be teaching this always, everything that could affect, you know, and it's shocking to still see in 2023 how endo is still treated as sort of like, that's just a bad period, and then doctors just shake it off when it's an agonizing experience. I mean, you go in with a broken leg, they'll see to it, they'll put it in a cast, they'll send you on your way with whatever you need, you heal up, you're ready. But then somebody comes in with the most crippling pain ever, and they're just like, that, here's some paracetamols, here's some birth control pills, you know, that's it. Not investigating it further, you just essentially get messed about, seeing different people all the time, and then them go, no, it's not us, and then others go, nope, not us, we can't do anything. You know, it's ridiculous. I think it's just shocking that there's not more.
Yeah, it really is. I would say that I was lucky in a sense because my mum has endometriosis as well. The second I had my first proper period, I had problems from the start. And as soon as I told her how bad the pain was, because I was actually at my dad's at the time, she knew. She said she knew straight away. And so I knew very early on what it was, what to expect, and, you know, how to deal with it. And we started going to the doctors immediately to get diagnosed. And they wouldn't listen to me at all. Even though we were going in and saying, look, this is what I have. This is what my mum has. This is what my auntie has. We've got a really strong family history, and I have all of the symptoms. Help. And they didn't believe us. It wasn't until my dad saw me have a really, really bad period, and he was like, I'm not having this. And he went to the doctors with me. Then they listened to him, because it was a man saying, you know, this isn't right. But up until then, it was just two hysterical women, I guess. Like, they just did not believe us. They were like, well, yeah, periods are painful. And that's something else that I hated, is that that's what we were taught in school, is that, oh, your period might be a bit painful. And again, the only reason I knew that wasn't, like, the amount of pain that I was feeling wasn't normal is because my mum had it, and she knew that wasn't normal.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have had no idea. My parents wouldn't have known what to do with me. I would have felt gaslit into thinking that I wasn't in pain. And even now, they try to say, like, oh, it can't be that bad. Like, you're sitting in front of me, or whatever they say. They've always tried to, like, make it, diminish it.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's not, it already takes an average of 7 years to get diagnosed.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, so I started my period in year 6, I think, is when I first started having proper periods. I'm 22 now, and I got diagnosed last year. So I've been living more than half of my life with endometriosis, and it took that long for me to get diagnosed. And I knew what it was, and I was telling them to diagnose me, and I was pushing for the laparoscopy, and I got told so much nonsense instead of being helped. I actually got told at the age of 18 that getting pregnant helps. That was
not...
all they did. They said that I was too young for a laparoscopy, but they told me that getting pregnant helps. That was their advice to an 18-year-old, instead of actually doing anything to help.
That's just disgusting. Welcome in, Pixel dear. Thanks for coming. How you doing? It's not right. It's just because I know Bacardian, like, she had a similar sort of experience. Oh, Bacardian says, with me it was second grumbling appearance that was during a period appendix that was during a period in adulthood that they finally thought about it, but I've been nagging since 11. They've tried all sorts of different things.
Yeah, I mean, that's completely, utterly believable. That's the story you hear from everyone with endo. And again, the only reason I knew that it was endo from so early is because my mum had it. Otherwise, I probably would have been blaming it on all sorts as well. And just begging doctors to figure it out for me. Instead, I was begging them to actually do something about it. But it's so silly. And a lot of doctors will explain it to me that also, yeah, they'll correct me. And they'll be like, oh, well, endometriosis doesn't cause this. Or, no, that's not endometriosis. I actually had a horrendous experience over Christmas where I had a urine infection that didn't get treated properly and turned into a kidney infection. And it, like, what my, what's it called? The tablets weren't working. The antibiotics weren't working. And so I had to call up 111. And for no reason, unprovoked, this doctor that I was talking to just tried to convince me that I didn't have endometriosis out of left field. Had nothing to do with why I was calling and why I was asking for help. I was just calling because I had a kidney infection. I wanted to make sure that I didn't need stronger antibiotics, and he just started trying to re-diagnose me. And he actually said, so I was like, no, I have urine infections often because of my endo, because that's another symptom of it. He was like, no, that's silly. What, you think every single woman in the world who has endo has a urine infection at the moment? That's silly. Why would you say that? Like, actually speaking to me like that. And I had to say, you know what? I'm not speaking to you. Yeah. I'm putting down the phone. I refuse to speak to you. And he called me back as well and just started yelling at me again. Jeez. And this is a doctor.
Yeah.
This wasn't just one of, like, the person who picks up and does the triage. This was the second call back from a doctor who was yelling at me and telling me off and calling me stupid when he had no idea about my condition at all. I know that when my mum was growing up, that it wasn't taught in medical schools, and as far as I'm aware, it's still not taught in medical schools. But a lot of the times, I think this is with any chronic illness, when you go into a GP or a hospital, you expect to know more than them, and that isn't a situation you should be put in as a patient, that you're going to have to be the one who explains your condition and, like, tells the doctor what to do and have them argue back with you. If they don't know, which is fair enough, if they don't know, they should admit they don't know and pass you on to someone who does, instead of trying to pretend they know what they're doing.
Yeah. So Bacardian says pregnancy, no period, but still pain when it would have been due. So pregnancy didn't work for her. It didn't reduce any of the symptoms. Pixel says, oh my god, what? And then Bacardian said, rude to the way the doctor, you know, and that doctor sounds so unprofessional. I'm sorry you had to experience that. Laffy says, you should put a complaint in for malpractice, as they can't call you back to yell at you.
Yes.
He should have been done for it, to be fair. That's disgusting.
Yeah, well, I think that's why he called back, was because he realised that he was being rude, because he called back and he started calm.
Yeah.
And I said, again, calmly, I was like, listen, I just don't want to talk to you. And then he started yelling again. So I think he called back to kind of, like, cover his tracks.
Yeah.
A bit, but he just felt the way. But I'm in situations like that, yes, probably should put in a complaint or something. But it happens so often where I get spoken to like that, that it's just exhausting. And at that point, it was Christmas Eve. I just wanted to enjoy my Christmas Eve with my family. Like, my mum was cooking while this was all happening, and I didn't want my food to get cold. So it sounds like, yeah, like, you probably should, but that is normal.
Yeah.
From my experience, that is normal from doctors. More often than not, they basically tell me that I'm silly, or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was more just like, oh, there's another one.
Yeah.
Than I was like outraged. And that is the normal experience.
It's like the doctor telling you how you should feel and what you should be feeling. It's like, no, I know my body. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I've had so I have stage 1, maybe stage 2. That's they're checking that at the moment, endometriosis, and had doctors told me like, oh, that one's not meant to be that painful. What?
Yeah.
They're all painful, and the fact that they think that like any of it isn't shocks me.
Yeah.
They say, oh yeah, you can experience pain when you're in stage 1, but I haven't met a single human being with endometriosis who has said that they're not in pain.
Yeah. I mean, Ricardian says, call me when I'm in pain. I dare you. And like, or they think you have a lower pain threshold.
That's the worst one.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, I actually sort of think that because of Endo, Bacardian actually has like a huge pain. She can take more because the Endo, but it shouldn't be like that. It should.
Yeah, you have to develop. Even if you don't have one to begin with, you are forced to develop a higher pain threshold because what's the other choice? There isn't one. Especially when there isn't a proper treatment for it. You are going to be in pain.
Yeah. Laffy says, I have bladder issues due to the wall between the bladder and uterus missing. Wasn't diagnosed till 25, and turns out my bladder flopped over and lining round, and until I get pain, they won't reposition it. So that's like,
oh my god.
Yeah. So they're waiting for pain, but I guarantee when there's pain, they probably will just be like, nah, you know, like,
yeah.
like,
Doctors are very like, oh, yeah, we can't do anything until it's painful. And then when it is painful, it takes months,
yeah.
if not sometimes it can be years, to get seen. And then sometimes by that point, your pain's dulled down a bit, in which case they're like, oh, well, it's gone now, it's fixed itself. It's just, you should not have you should not have to wait until you're in agony for that to happen.
No. I'm sorry, Laffy, that you have to put up with that. It's again, more doctors not taking conditions seriously at all. But it's so odd because it's like I said, you break something, you come in with a head injury, you know, you're in, you're out. You come in with an infection, you're in, you get the antibiotics, you sort out. This. Another one, though, actually, so it might detract from the conversation, I do apologise, is I think dementia's one that sort of, I know endo and dementia are just not connected at all, but it's another condition that I just don't think, like, it's like, you go to the doctors, you know, here you go, so this tablet might slow it, you know, and there is conditions, so like...
It's not good enough, is it?
Because, like, with endo, it's just like, I've seen the pain, and I've been scared, like, I'm like, I'm trying, I don't mean to make it about me, sorry guys, I'm just meaning, like, you see the pain that your partner's in, because you said your partner sort of, in a previous chat we had, your partner sometimes worries a bit, when you're in extreme pain, and you panic, and you're like, there's nothing you can do, you feel powerless, because you can try rub a back and stuff, rub a stomach, it just doesn't make a difference, and you feel like calling the ambulance, but you know that if you do that, they'll just like...
There's nothing, they won't like hook you up to morphine or anything like that, you know, there is genuine, they will just be like, well, what do you want us to do about it? I just want to go back to what Laffy said. That is absolutely ridiculous, by the way, that they like know what the issue is. It's not even as if they don't know what's wrong. That is absolutely ridiculous. They know what the issue is, and they're just saying, yeah, just suffer for a bit. So sorry about that, but that is shocking, even to me, that they actually know what they need to do to fix it.
Yeah, it's like as if, like, what if the pain could what if these pains are causing people damage, and you know, like Laffy said, like
Oh,
just
there's my partner, by the way.
hey, welcome in,
Nick.
Ninja Nick.
There you go.
Thanks for coming. How you doing? Laffy says just means I'm a peeing fountain, and Rustic says I'm sorry to
Yeah,
hear
I
that.
did laugh at that.
Yeah, and then Pixel says that's to say sorry, Laffy, and then Ninja Nick can confirm there's only so much that you feel like you can do as a partner. Only so many hot water bottles you can bring. God, my English will improve one day. But yeah, that's right. There's just not. And then as well, like even if you take your partner for treatment, they just don't take it seriously at all.
Yeah, I mean, they're more likely to kind of like scoff and be like, "What do you want us?" I mean, I've had a doctor say that to me before, where I went in and said, "I'm in pain," and he said, "Well, what do you want me to do about it?" Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Fix it?
Yeah.
Possibly. I don't know. That's just a suggestion. I know I'm not a medical professional, but that's just a suggestion.
Laffy says they don't do much for bladder causes. Try Senecop might help, but you won't be allowed caffeine, otherwise you get cramps. Oh, thanks for the suggestion, Laffy. But
is that a tablet or
is that a tablet, Laffy? Sorry. No, I mean, yeah. Again, it's just going back to you go in with like a head injury, or you know, you get seen straight away and. A tablet. Oh, right.
I will be looking into that. Thank you. Yeah. I'll try anything. Any suggestions?
Yeah.
Throw them in the chat.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's just like you know, it's there's so many. It's almost as if it's trivialized, maybe because it's comes under period. Would you agree there? Like it's trivialized because people think, oh, everyone gets period pain, and then like they're just not looking into it because they're not interested and they're just brushing it off, and it's like, for God's sake, because there's not. I mean, Ricardian says I have an opiate pill, but it only takes the edge off, but it's something. And then Laff says laxative to help bladder and bowels, works for IBS, works for me, and works period issues as well with bladder.
I am actually going to look into that. Thank you.
But yeah, it's trivialized, isn't it? And then everybody, like males especially, like there are so many males that just won't. They'll just eke at the. And it's like, guys, it's 2023, for crying out loud, you know. You'll be shocked where you came from. you know?
I specifically. So I was, as unfortunately most teenage girls are, I was very embarrassed about my period for quite a while. And then when the pain started to get very bad, I didn't care anymore. What did you want me to do about it? You know, like I wasn't going to pretend I was hiding it or anything. And I remember a boy from my school, he tried to embarrass me. And he pulled a period pad out of my bag because it was like on the very top.
Yeah.
And he was like, ah ha ha ha.
Bloody hell.
And he put it back. And I threw it at him. And he never bullied me again. I was like, what do you want? Like, yeah, I have a period pad in my bag. And he gave it back to me and was like, you know what? I respect it. And I never got any hassle from anyone again. But it's ridiculous. And I think a big part of that is that we're taught separately about, like, all of the boys were taken into one room and all of the girls were put into a different room. And we were taught, like, oh, this is what a period is and this is what, and I don't know what the boys learn about. Clearly not periods.
No.
But that doesn't help. There is no reason for the boys not to learn.
Yeah.
What it is. They are going to, at one point in their lives, whether they like it or not, have to deal with a woman on her period. So why don't they have to learn about it?
No, it's you're right. I mean, I don't even remember what we learned in sex ed, but I can guarantee that they never went into female health at all. You know, welcome in, Bucky. Thanks for coming. How you doing? We're doing all right, thank you. Hope you're well. Laffy says you can get gummies and tea, but wouldn't recommend the gummies. They are not very nice.
If they work, I will figure it out. I'll like mix them up with something.
Yeah.
Maybe dip them in chocolate.
No, in school, I can honestly say that, like, as a male, we never ever spoke about. I mean, I don't even remember when I learned what a period was. I'll be completely honest. We never learn about these things. They're just, at least in my school. And Laffy says not much from our high school, and me and Laffy actually went to school quite close together, so maybe it's a North Yorkshire thing. I don't know, but they just did not go.
Unfortunately, I do think it is just a general school thing.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know what endo was till I met partner, and I think that's quite shameful. I think it should be taught to everyone.
Well, I don't. Everyone who I've met, and I have had to explain what it is, the only time they've ever known what it is because they have a partner who has it every time without fail.
Yeah.
Other than that, they have no idea.
No, Laffy says it's like taboo. Agreed.
Yeah.
Because I read stories, I mean, there's debates whether, like, women should be given time off during periods, but then they use the terminology bad periods, and it's like, well, there's other conditions, and you should consider talking about it and having some action plans, because surely people would be like, I say this with mental health, if you have systems in place, you are more likely to sort of be loyal to that company and whatnot. So it's like, why are people not? Why is a period a taboo subject? It shouldn't be a thing. Welcome in, Brad. How you doing? Oh, hey Vixen, how you doing? Oh, thanks for listening. Thank you. Bacardi answers same, but it was over 20 years ago, so I'm hoping it's different. I'm only 21 though, I swear. But no, there's debates, and there shouldn't be debates. It should be like a thing, like especially
it's
for
a very cut and dry situation as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's just there's too much that we're just not. I mean, it's like safe in a world. It's like, because endo. Well, we'll talk about that, like how endo affects mental health. But it's like in a lot of places, mental health isn't taken seriously whatsoever. Like you ring up and say like, oh look, I'm having a severely bad mental health day, like it's just like, and then I bet it's even worse, when it comes to stuff like endo, because it's the agony. And may I ask, like, actually I'll just read the comments before I ask. Pixel says, to be fair, even as a female I didn't learn about endo till I was 20, and even then the info I could find online was so limited. It definitely needs to be spoken about more. No, completely agree.
Definitely.
Laffy says a pharmacist tends to help you better than the doctor.
Again, that even depends on the pharmacy. Sometimes we've had some pretty rude pharmacists as well. That's just a lot of attitude from a lot of people, honestly.
Yeah, and Bacardian said she'd never heard of it until she was hospitalised for it the second time.
It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't have. Like, I can't even imagine how scary that is. I'm so sorry, because like to be in so much pain, or to be having so many problems that you have to be hospitalized and you have no idea what's going on. That must be terrifying, and it should not be like that.
She said she had to Google it. They didn't explain it, so she had to go to Google again.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, I had the definition on the screen, which was difficult to even find, because a lot of definitions, even from medical sites, will be wrong. So I had to find the definition of it, just so that I made sure I got my facts 100% correct, because it wasn't explained to me. Even when they said, oh yeah, the way I was told is I had so this was after COVID, and so my parents weren't allowed in with me. And so I was just waking up from my laparoscopy, still completely high on whatever they filled me with. And the only way that I know how they told me my diagnosis is because I had my mum on loudspeaker, because I called her as soon as I got out. But they came in while I was like half dozing off and said, yeah, we found it, and we lasered off as much as you can. And then I didn't see my doctor again after that. And he's actually really nice as well. I don't even want to put him down, but that's just how little they tell you about it. They told me officially that I had it while I was completely high, and then just that's it. They did not explain it to me. They didn't tell me what I needed to do.
It's not right. Dr. Ferret said, "Ooh, this is one of my favourite chill games." Welcome in, Ferret. How you doing? It is a very chill game, but yeah, it's disgusting that people have to go and find out later, and then it's like treated like whatever, go home, you know,
It's fine. Take some
whatever.
paracetamol.
Yeah, takes paracetamol, blah blah blah. Yeah,
Which, me and my mum, we call paracetamol Smarties
yeah.
because we might as well.
Oh
The
yeah.
only thing that I found paracetamol helpful for is when I've taken Nurofen Plus, and you like an hour or two later, if it hasn't kicked in properly, or if I want it to last longer than the 4 hours, I will then take paracetamol because you can take them together, and all it does is give the Nurofen a bit of a shove. But other than that, if I take it by itself, absolutely nothing. So the fact that they tell you to take paracetamol for something that painful, it shocks me. And when I say, because like I said before, that my pain's better than it was before I went on the pill. It's still not good. I have burns on my stomach now because I have a hot water bottle on me at all times, and the fact that it doesn't like register that my stomach's being burnt,
Yeah.
and like that pain is nothing compared to what I'm feeling every single day. But I don't care. It's a different sensation. It distracts from the usual pain.
Yeah.
And so if I'm burning my belly, I'm burning my belly. That's how I see it, as long as it's doing something. So that's how bad it is. And suggesting paracetamol for something like that.
That's the thing. I mean, um, I'll quickly read. Life says, "I wonder if you could ask to see the urologist. They do sometimes help if you get a
I
PDF on it."
did I did see a urologist actually very recently. Um, but it turns out the endo isn't in my bladder, at least not yet. And so I don't know, I'm still waiting to see if they want to do anything about it.
No, it's not good. And Bacardian said they don't explain the unexpected pain either. Like leg, knees in particular. Last year it started in my jaw. No clue if it was related. And then the fertility issues.
Yeah, so 2 points on that. The leg and the pain issue. I'm going to throw the jaw issue in there. It's probably related. That's something that they only recently kind of made a connection between, is that you get leg pain and that kind of pain as well. That's another whole issue, is that it feels like every single year we get more information like, oh, this is a symptom as well, and oh, this is a symptom, and it's because it's not understood at all. So yeah, I completely agree. Like, I've had leg pain for years, and I've gone to doctors and they had no idea, and it's only until last year when they kind of figured that connection out that they found out that like that's why my legs are hurting. And then the other thing with the fertility issues, they still stick by the narrative that it can cause infertility, can cause fertility issues. It is so directly linked.
Yeah.
You have to think there is this tissue that isn't meant to be there growing all over your organs. Of course it's going to have an effect. I mean, like I said, I'm 22, and when they did my laparoscopy, I think it's my left fallopian tube, is on the verge of like sub fertility or something. So basically, we're looking at like that tube is going to not be in the best condition, and it already isn't in a good condition. So the fact that they don't tell you about that, and then even if you bring it up, they try to say, oh well, it can do this. It does. And there is, you're not going to hear from anyone who has endo that is going to say they had an easy time getting pregnant, or that they haven't had issues getting pregnant, or they haven't had issues with fertility, because it's just not true.
Yeah.
And I don't get why they're so intent on not saying that. I really don't.
No,
Again, it comes into like them trying to like almost gaslight you into thinking that these things aren't happening to you and these issues aren't real.
no, it's disgusting, really. Vixen said it sounds like either the doctors don't care or have no clue themselves. It definitely feels like that sometimes, I would imagine. Laffy says jaws lightly if you can get an infection along with. And Bacardian says, yeah, it's apparently on the sciatic nerve or something like that. And then so you grow tissue, and then I have a lack of tissue, Laffy says. Yeah, so it's kind of the extreme opposites there then with both your conditions.
Yin and yang
Yeah,
of the painful conditions.
yeah. And oh, so this is not related to endo, but it's going to an endo place. So I've suffered sciatica since I was a kid. Trapped nerves in my back. Always do it. Fun times, right? But when I go to a doctor, they know. They give you ridiculously strong painkillers, which I don't recommend because, wow, I think they're like bordering opiates. But right, I go to and I'm trying not to sound it sounds like I'm showing off. It's leading somewhere, I swear. But you go to the doctor, you go with the trapped nerve, and now I can't sort of fix it. I've tried physio, nothing helped. I think that I just did too much as a kid, played too many games, slouched too much perhaps, and even when I was sort of in a much fitter state than I am, it was still prevalent. But they give you painkillers. They send you away and they usually work and you're cool. So why the hell can I get opiate style painkillers, but a person with endo gets sent with, which is probably a hell of a lot worse than the sciatic nerve pain? Why do they get sent away with nothing? Essentially,
Yeah.
like
It,
trapped nerve fine. Endo causes womb lining to spread everywhere. Then it all is absolutely agony. Nah, whatever.
yeah, no need. The only time I've ever been given painkillers, it was naproxen, and that was when my dad came in with me and told them like you have to do something. That's the first time they ever gave me painkillers, or the only time they ever gave me painkillers. And I don't know what my body thinks of naproxen, but it doesn't like it, and it makes my pain worse. Cannot tell you why. It goes away, it moves to a different area, and within half an hour it's like double as painful as it was before. So my body doesn't react well. We went back to the doctors, we told them that, and they said, well, don't take it.
No.
And that was it. I've never been given a different painkiller to try. I get told off sometimes for taking Nurofen Plus regularly, and it's like, well, then give me a different option. And they have nothing to say. They have nothing to give me. Other than naproxen. And then again, when I say that doesn't work for me, then they give me no other option. They're not even trying, as far as I'm concerned, to make that not painful.
That's ridiculous. It really is. And Laffy says there's not a lot of research in bladder issues either. No, doesn't sound like it. There's so many conditions that are not research. Some you go in and you're like, yeah, no worries, but then others, no, it's just not. So yeah, it kind of leads on to the question that like, how does that affect your mental health, and how has it,
So that's something that doesn't get really spoken about a lot either. It's exhausting. It's so utterly exhausting because I can't. I mean, there's so many aspects of it. The biggest thing is how tiring it is. I am tired all of the time. And then the other big thing is how left out you feel, and how like just depressing it is that your friends can do all of this, and you can't. So on the tiring side of things, it really does feel hopeless because every morning I wake up and I'm in pain immediately, right? So the first whole battle there is then getting myself out of bed and knowing that I'm about to have a whole day of pain. Then something as simple as just being in work all day, you're in pain all day, so you're exhausted from dealing with that. And then you get home, you have a bit of time to recover, and off you go to work again the next day to start it all again. I can't remember the last time I wasn't tired. I'm so utterly exhausted all of the time. It's like a full-time job to just be in pain. You're constantly thinking about it. There's no way to not think about it. so you're exhausted, and then the aspect of feeling left out. Like, all my friends are at least 5 years older than me. Actually, shout out to Brad. He's like 3 years older than me or something. He's still old in my eyes, but whatever. And like they can drink all night, and they can go to parties, and they can go to festivals and whatever. And I want to go to bed at 9. I can't go to. I'm trying. There goes Brad. I've made him cry. If I'm not sure if that's my Brad or not, but I've made a Brad cry.
I wonder if it is.
But yeah, so they can go partying, and they can do festivals, and they can do all of this, and I can, but I'm not. I'm not going to enjoy it as much as them, because I'm struggling with pain, and I'm usually in pain the whole time, and walking around makes it worse, and doing this makes it worse, and again, with the being tired all the time, I can't stay up as late as them. So you just feel so left out, and you feel so hopeless a lot, especially when you're having a really bad week of pain, or sometimes month of pain. It's awful. It is just really depressing.
No, Ricardian, I really feel sometimes like if it's a woman thing, you have no hope.
I do definitely agree with that sentiment. It does feel like that.
It's messed up. Like, then it affects you severely mentally. I mean, I can imagine it probably drives people to suicidal thoughts, really. I mean,
it doesn't just drive people to suicidal thoughts. So when my mum joined, so when she was young and trying to figure it out, she joined a few support groups and stuff, and she said she left after 2 women committed suicide. One because she couldn't deal with the fact that she was never going to have a baby, and the other one because she couldn't deal with the fact that she was in pain every single day. So it doesn't just people decided it's not worth living with it.
Yeah, and that's shocking. And then they still just I just don't see how a doctor can do that when you're in clear amounts of pain and just go, nah, when there's got to be an answer. There's got to be an answer somewhere. They just go because the NHS website says no cure instantly, and it's just there has got to be some sort of thing that can stop the process, that after surgery it stops the process of the womb, not just an invasive surgery, which many women want children, and this can render that they might not want the womb removing. That is such a horrendously extreme.
It's such a big decision.
Yeah, and it's one that you can't go back on. So, and I bet if they just put more time, more research, there'd be something. There has to
100%. There'd be at least a treatment that is consistent, that has results no matter what, because that doesn't even exist. There has to be something. There can't be nothing.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, it's shocking. Bacardian says, by the way, if they ever recommend exercise, do not do it. I wish I could tell 13-year-old me that.
Oh god, I'm currently seeing a PT. So that, to be fair, with that, if you're going to do exercise of endometriosis, be careful. Don't push it. Don't think, because I can't work out 5 times a week that I'm not doing well, whatever. I see him once a week. If he makes me do or if he starts to make me do an exercise that hurts, I say no, not doing it, and he respects that. He doesn't push me and be like, oh, come on, you can get it done. He just completely respects that. So if you are going to exercise, be careful. Listen to if your body is in pain or not, and just go with the flow. And if you can't, and if you're in too much pain, because this week is the first week since I've gotten my PT that I'm not doing a session, because I've had an awful pain week. I've been off for 2.5 days this week, and realistically I would have liked to be off all week, but I feel bad when I take time off work.
But you definitely shouldn't.
And, I know I shouldn't. That's another thing, is that you feel like you're not doing enough because everyone else can do it. But there's a very good reason why you can't do it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's like it's probably the way that people have ingrained it into people with endo. Like, you feel a sense of guilt when really, like, no, it shouldn't be like that. But then because everyone keeps compounding, and I mean, hopefully I'm not mansplaining here, as they say.
No, you're not.
You know, like it's it's just like I think people have compounded it that it should be something that you should push through, and it's like, no, it's not. It's not the case. It's really. I mean, I'm sure Bacardian doesn't mind me mentioning, but like on a period day, we'll want to go out. We love going to the charity shops and browsing, see what goodies we can get. But if she does that on a period, she will try and push, and then she'll be in agony for the rest. Like, it won't be at, say, 10 out of 10, but after a walk or a shop visit, that's it. Like, 10,
Yeah.
10 out of 10, absolutely crippling agony, and yeah, there's just nothing. And like I said, if they can fix nerve problems, if they can fix brakes, if they can fix, why can't they sort this? I just don't think they're putting enough time into it, when with a dedicated funding and dedicated research, it could save lives. I mean, some of these doctors
It could.
you know.
Yeah, it could save lives. I 100% agree. 100% agree. They tried to. Sorry, I cut you off, but like
Oh,
that
no,
really, that really like got me, because a lot of the time they say it's not fatal. You know, it's not going to kill you. I guess, yeah. On like if you're being like flat out, like, is the endometriosis itself going to kill you? No. But my mum almost died with both of our childbirths. She very badly was ill with both of them. It does, and whenever, you know, if it happens, then it is put down as organ failure during childbirth or something like that. So it does
Yeah.
result in that sometimes,
I think
and it's because it's not taken seriously.
Yeah, I think it's like also those women you said that have killed themselves. That's a fatality down
Yeah.
to endo, that doctors are just saying, "Oh, go home," because like, I've seen the pain, and I'll be real, I couldn't manage it, and I think you guys are inspirational because every day you face it and you keep going. But like, it's completely understandable to why some people just can't manage that, and they see that suicide is a way out. But how disgusting and sad is that they get to a point where they're like, I can't, because like you said, it's interrupting your life. You want to go, you're 22, you should be going to festivals and doing what you want to do without this limitation, and doctors are just sat in their office just going, nah, it's fine, when it's like, no,
It's not fun.
we kind of like, I mean, I'm atheist, so I kind of believe there's one life, not too sure what's after. So like, for the one life you get, these doctors are like, nah, it's fine, whatever.
I mean, also, even if you believe in anything else, do you really want to spend this
Oh,
life being in pain? No.
Oh, of course,
Like,
yeah.
It's not a way to live. It's really not. Like, I distinctly remember one of my first really bad periods, being in bed and crying probably, and I asked my mum, I was like, is this what it's, I said something along the lines of like, is this what it's going to be like, or something like that, and she said yeah. And so I must have been 14, 15 years old, maybe even younger at this point. In fact, I think I might have been younger, to know that this is the rest of your life, is you're going to be in pain. It's awful. It's an awful thing to have to process as a child, and then have to also deal with that for the rest of your life.
No, I can't imagine. I mean, it's ridiculous. Bacardian says, I feel bad mooing on the sofa. Mooing's like what she does when she's like in lots of pain. She kind of just, I think it helps sometimes, but like, she tries to go and do the housework or shopping, then regrets it, but not even the opioid stuff works then. But I should also add, it's via prescription. She's not drug taking, so no, it was the silly thing is, right, she couldn't get that drug for endo, but when she trapped a nerve in a hip, they gave her like a massive box of these extreme painkillers. It's like, right, so traps a nerve in a hip, that's fine, you've given it. It comes in with endo, no, can't have those, you know.
Yeah, no need for it.
Yeah, like,
I need to trap a nerve.
yeah, I mean, I don't. The weird thing is, none of my family even get painful periods, so I had no clue.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't. How would you know? Because you're not told about it. You have no idea. Like I said before, the only time I've ever told someone, "Hey, this is what it is," and they've said, "Yeah, I know," is when they've seen somebody else with it as well. Otherwise, you have no idea. And it's not. This isn't a rare disease. It's 1 in 10 women. That's a big number for people to have no idea what it is.
No, it's just not. And I think even like rarer conditions get looked into more. You know, it's just not. You know, it's not right at all.
And I really resonate with what your partner said about like trying to do the housework and stuff. That's actually what got me this weekend. Is me and my partner were trying to clean the house, but that's another completely that's a mental health side of it. Our house gets filthy, not because we're lazy, not because of any of that, but because I can't do it regularly. And why is he expected to clean the whole house by himself every week? He shouldn't be. So that means that we have to every now and then do a huge clean. It took us 3-4 hours, and that's why I've been in pain all week, and I'm still in pain from on Saturday. The 3 hours cleaning up. That's it. That's my week gone.
It's not even looked at as a disability, but really, it is. It, you know.
Especially because it gets worse. If I have stage 1, it gets worse. So that I can't imagine doing that.
No.
I at that point it should be.
I wish there was a doctor here because I'd like to yell at them. Honestly, it feels. I feel powerless myself, with my partner, but I just feel angry right now because, what are they doing? What are they playing at? Really?
You do, yeah. And people are they're very defensive about doctors, and I'm not going to sit here and say that NHS is bad in any way, shape, or form, and I'm not saying that, but that doesn't mean that there's not individuals who are causing issues and making it difficult to get healthcare and stuff. Just people very touchy about that. And I actually said before, I said last night to my partner, I was like, I'm going to try not to get angry, because when I get angry, I start being rude to all the doctors and stuff. But it's hard not to get angry, because there are, just because there are doctors out there who want to help, and there are doctors out there who want to, support you and actually get you better. You have to go through so many first.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And even if that doctor wants to help you, they don't have the tools because it hasn't been researched enough. They can't do anything. No, sometimes they can't do anything. Sorry.
Yeah, I completely understand. The NHS as a whole we support, but there are individuals that in them that kind of just fob you off more than anything. I remember, sorry, it's unrelated to endo, but I went in. I've had OCD quite bad since I was a kid. It's never changed, and this one doctor said, sometimes you just need a good hug and a cry. It's yeah, cool, man. That'll help. Cured. That's but that's the mentality of some doctors, where they're just right, so you don't want to help. And I guess it's the same with endo exactly, where it's suggesting to try hot water ball. It's oh yeah, because you haven't tried that, have I? No, and stuff like that. The mentality of some individuals in any doctors around the world is just shocking. I think sometimes you get decent ones, but then some must be like uneducated, but some are just outright rude, and it's like, why'd you become a doctor when you have the empathy of a fucking stone? Excuse my language, sorry.
Me. No, it absolutely shocks me because I noticed this the other day. If my mum had started studying medicine when I first got my period, she would be able to treat me herself at this point. And that's how long it took for me to get diagnosed. If she could have had a whole medical degree before I got diagnosed.
Yeah, it's...
So that means there's people younger than me who are going to be my doctors soon. And I've been dealing with this condition for longer than they've even been alive.
Yeah.
And well, that makes no sense to me. And they're going to sit there and tell me what it feels like. And they think... Something else that I think some doctors fail to realise is that they see you for 5 minutes, right? They see you for 5 minutes, they hear your sob story or whatever, and that's it. And then they say whatever and you leave their office, and they don't have to think about it ever again. You go home and you deal with that. You go home, you deal with that for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And they don't have to think about it again. They forget that these people they're seeing every single day go home and have lives and are dealing with that still. I genuinely think they forget that because that's how it feels.
I agree. It must be. Yeah, Vicardian says that like some are like, "Have you tried a cup of tea?" It's like, okay. Slimer, welcome in, Slimer. Welcome to the Safe in Our World stream. Slimer says they told my sister-in-law to just lose some weight because clearly that will stop it growing. Just ridiculous. I feel like Endo doesn't discriminate in size, height, weight, Yeah,
it doesn't discriminate at all.
Yeah.
Like, if you got it, and it's going to be painful no matter what. And losing weight has absolutely nothing to do with it. That's so stupid that they suggested that.
Yeah. Pixel says, I pray for anyone who goes to that doctor for any mental health reasons, leaves the doctor with a prescription of daily hugs. Yeah, literally not making it up. Said cry and maybe you need like a hug, and I was like,
They've cured mental health.
Yeah,
a visionary, truly.
Yes, he's in the history books. Why didn't I think of that? But that's the mentality of doctors with a lot of conditions. Like, some docs are fine with certain things, but like with unknown, you'll either get the ones that kind of admit that I'm not sure what we can do, but then you'll get the ones that are outright like, it's a complicated case, can't be asked. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why become? I can only hope that like our generation of doctors are educated enough about these conditions that they can make a difference, because I feel like sometimes the older the generation, the less understanding. Not with everyone, there are some wonderful older doctors, but there are some that are kind of set in their ways, And then Picardian says, I need more hugs, I still have BPD. See, it's hugs for everyone,
Maybe we should just start giving people hugs, prescribing them to people.
Just bring back those sort of like Woodstock concerts where everyone was hugging and stuff, and like mental health will be gone. I never heard of mental health issues in the 1970s. Clearly, it was all the peace and love. But Pixel says, last time I went to the doctors, they literally Googled my question in front of me. I'm not joking. That's shocking.
Oh, I've gotten that so many times where they've Googled endometriosis directly in front of me and then had the cheek to explain it to me. Or like explain to me why I'm wrong about something. It's like, you just did a quick Google search. I could have done that.
Why have they not taught this in medical school? Like,
but the thing is as well, is like, you know what? Let's pretend for just 1 second that that not many people have it. It's completely incorrect, but let's just pretend for a second.
Yeah.
The doctors can't be expected to learn every single condition that exists in the world, right? Yeah. Admit it and send that person to a specialist. That's all you have to do. There's no shame in not knowing every single disease and every single symptom of every single disease. There's no shame in that. It is impossible to know all of them. But if you don't pretend, send that person to someone who's going to help. It's really not that difficult. I don't get why doctors have such difficulty admitting that they don't know.
Yeah,
but that's more helpful.
Oh yeah, I think if they did have more endo specialists, which I've never heard of one. I'll be honest, I've not heard of an endo specialist. Like, if they did have specialists, do they have specialists actually? Do they?
They do have specialists.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of them there are, but they do have specialists. Like, trying to get sent to one is difficult. I've never been sent to one.
That's shocking. Like, years of it, and still, like, imagine if they made it more of a mainstream specialist. Like, not only would it be positive for endo, but it'd be positive for them, because there'd be, it's a win-win situation. They're
going to be making bank. If you want to even look at it that way, that's just good for them.
Exactly. So, because I always try to sort of put things in a like, well, okay, so try to look for the benefits of everybody, and for like medical, it would benefit so many if you don't just look at the sort of endo victims. If that's an alright term, sorry.
I guess it's correct. It's not incorrect.
You know, like, it would benefit so many, because pharmaceutical companies could start making new drugs to help. They'd make money. Doctors would then, you know, perhaps not the NHS at the moment, but like other that have to charge, private firms, they'd make money. So why? You know, like, when it can... And I think that's a poor way to look at it and go, well, others will make money off it, but like, we live in a capitalist...
I don't care how it's looked at, as long as it's, you know, fixed and researched. That's how I see it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think, like, I always look at these situations like, it's like if mental health care was like... So I will say it, I don't think mental health care is great. It really, you know, it's like 6 sessions, 12 sessions gone. That doesn't... Yeah. You can totally go away with some tools, but tools are just band-aids.
Yeah, well, this is...
You know.
Sorry, carry on.
Oh, sorry. No, sorry. You go.
Well, I was just going to say, this wasn't to do with endo, but when I was in sixth form, I was having a lot of issues, and I think my mum got it set up so that I could, like, so the NHS mental health, like, people would call me to decide whether I needed a therapist or not, or something like that, and they basically said, "Are you thinking of killing yourself?" And I said no. And then they said, "Well, we don't think you need a therapist." And then that was it. And I didn't get any further help from them. My mum ended up having to pay privately for me to see a therapist. And that is so you don't need... And it's costing people more money. It's like, if you're talking about, like, oh, it's expensive to send people to therapists, it is more expensive to send somebody to see a therapist who is at that point, who has gotten that bad, than it is to have someone deal with the problem earlier on.
Yeah, it's shocking how it's treated. It's like, because I know that with my OCD, because you're not... Now, for the longest time, I was never suicidal. I was like, right, I'm not suicidal, no, because I think, like, things change. I used to say to the doctor, like, you know, I believe that things can change, blah, blah, blah. I won't kill myself. I just don't believe in that. You know, so... And then you'd kind of, like, you'd get fobbed off with, like, nothing most of the time, or maybe a couple sessions in which then went nowhere, or, like, CBT, it's very hit and miss. Sometimes it's worked, but in giving you tools, but it never fixes the issue, because I had a relapse, like, I call it an OCD relapse, which is actually a thing. I had made loads of progress, and then a lot of traumatic things happened, and it actually got me to the point where I did have to go to the doctors, and I broke down and said, well, I just can't keep on doing this. Like, this is a horrible way. My mind is against me every day. Intrusive thoughts. You know, I used to have the hygiene OCD, where I'd used to scrub the skin till it bled. I'd be late to every college lecture by 4 or 5 hours due to showering. I mean, I couldn't touch anything, shoes, socks. I still can't touch dirty clothes very well. Luckily, me and Bacardian sort of, we've got a relationship where we know what each other can do and can't do. So it's kind of like it works hand in hand, but it's always fobbed off with a couple sessions, you know. Like, and I had a relapse, and I've only just learned recently, because I'm in therapy at the moment, because of that relapse, and to the point where it was like I was wondering what was the point. And it learned OCD can create memories, or memories you think, and bend the reality into the point where you don't know what's real. Because I had this memory, and I can talk about it now because it used to haunt me, right? I had this memory where I thought I had killed my cousin's fish. I thought that I had crushed it with a castle and really mutilated it, and I was distraught. I was like, how could I do that? How could I do something like that? And it got to the point where I was so distraught I had to ring him and say, like, how did that goldfish die? And he was like, well, Dad, I had that fish for years. I mean, and then he got really old, and he was found at the top of the thing. And I said, no, I killed that. I said, no,
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's like, no, you didn't. I said, really? And I can remember the smell, the looks, the sounds, everything. I can tell you the smell, everything. And it didn't happen. The cousin was like, no. And then my mum was like, you'd think, Jake, though, that when the cousin discovered that his fish was mangled to pieces, that he'd probably scream as a kid. And then my sister would be, distraught that you've just gone and, mangled this fish. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. And so it turns out that OCD can, change the reality of your memories. It's like, hey Kentrot, welcome in. How you doing? It's like, what is it? I'm trying to think what she said now, because she taught me about it. It's like thought, memories and actions. It's like the OCD is powerful enough to do that. So there was a painful memory that I've been holding for 15 years that it's the foundation of most of my OCD things. And she's like, okay, we'll go through it, write it down as much as possible, go into it, and we'll have a look. And so she started acting a bit suspicious, like feeling like it didn't happen, so was quizzing me with questions, almost as if she didn't believe it. And then my partner Bacardian was kind of like, hang on a minute, I'm starting to think that did this happen? And I said, right, to the therapist, I'll talk to my mum, she'll remember. She had OCD as a kid too, and she grew up with it, still has it, and I'll talk to her. I was like, did this event happen? She's like, no, I'd remember that. And I'd be like, right, okay. So I was like, and then I started to quiz her, because this memory was real. Like, for 15 years it's been like in my mind, sort of messing with me. I'm like, right, but you remember that I went to the Harrogate with the Dragon Parade, counselling and therapy, you remember? She's like, yeah, I remember the therapist coming out when you were younger, and she remembered every single treatment I went. But that event where, like, I went to this place, she's like, that didn't happen, because my mum was there in the memory, and she'd know, because she's got a really good memory. And I was like, for that whole week I was a mess. I was like, well, what's reality? What's,
that's absolutely wild.
I didn't believe OCD was that, like, and then doctors are just kind of like, it again. I wasn't taken seriously until I said that maybe continuing on was pointless, because I'm just going to keep relapsing. But nobody told me that memories can be fabricated, and then it's really tough to sort of, you're like, is that real? Is that not? Did that happen? Did that not? And I'm still, I found this out like 2 weeks ago, and I'm still like, well, I don't know if that even happened now. I'm just like,
that's insane. I had no idea that like it could. Because when you hear about it, it's just very like, oh, and you clean a lot, and you have to do things in a certain order, and all of that. I had no clue that it could do that.
No, I didn't. Like 2 weeks ago, my therapist said it's something to do with kind of like, it's like you'll know certain memories, but OCD has a habit of when that memory might be a little bit painful, it twists it and you know. But I was like, yeah, but the fish, what was that to do with? And it's like, it could be my sort of take on animals where me and my partner rescue them a lot. I worked in animal management. I had the sort of target of rescuing animals, wanting to save them all. So my OCD was like, you murdered one, you know, you mutilated one and abused one, you can't be an animal manager. And that's what your head's saying. You're an evil, sick, blah 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 blah, you know. And these memories can be fabricated because the OCD can just twist it, completely twist it. And it's shocking. I only learned that, and it's just like, what? I was 12
I
when it
actually
started.
can't believe that.
No, I know. I need to find the term, and she told me, and it was incredible knowing that memory didn't exist. But it was such a damn relief.
Yeah, cool.
Because my mum would know, because she went through these things with me and counseled. Like you say, your mother was supportive, and my mum with OCD, she sort of, you know, knew what to do. And yeah, like, and the doctor just goes, have a hug, have a cry. You know, no doctor said this to me. Nobody ever said this. I was just telling people these painful memories and how much they've affected me my whole life, and some of them didn't even happen. You know, like
a hug is not going to fix that.
No, and I'm on my last session, and I've got to give it to my current therapist. She has been lovely and taught me loads of tools, but I'm going to be real. I'm stuck with this. Like, there's no cure. You know, it's just coping, how you cope with it.
Yeah, I mean, in that sense, it is very similar to endo, and a lot of mental health in that sense that is it, and it can feel so hopeless that the fix is to figure it out, kind of thing. Yeah. That's it. That's the best you can do, is learn how you're going to live with it and what your experience with it is going to be like.
Yeah, I mean, Kendrop says, I'm good, got new lights, so old ones were flickering, but because they were cheap, naturally been faffing about with the app control and made a flashbang for a command. That's cool. Bacardian said, if I remember right, she said it's the constant obsession that leads to a false memory. That's it, yeah. So if you obsess about it enough, it warps it. It warps it, because then you're looking, you know, at the... And it was like such a relief, but I felt like crying at the same time. I was like, what? I've beat myself,
yeah, of course you are.
You know, up with this, like, my whole life, and it didn't even happen. It's the basis for half of my... So it's like trying to figure out that mind screw up, you know. I do love the sound of that Kentrop. Plays videos of flashbangs being thrown, then cranks the lights up. That's cool. Ninja Nix is definitely the first I've ever heard of OCD being anything like that. It is, I mean, like you said, it's kind of, if there's a depicted, yeah, as like, oh, we organise things, we clean things, and I did have the hygiene OCD, but when I met Bacardian, I think she calmed me down enough that sort of tapered off. However, I still wash more than the usual way. But like OCD, a lot of the fear is kind of like, because I can lead on with this. Bacardian says, oh, trust me, OCD is a lot more complex than most people led to believe. That I don't suffer myself, but I've seen it through Jake. It's like every action you do, you fit. So like if I stand up for myself, I report something, I say something to someone, or type out a sentence, or think I've offended someone, I will think they're going to kill themselves because of me. And that's one thing that I've never been able to get over. And they think it stems from one of my friends in college. He said he was on the bridge and he just had enough. And I found him on like the bridge trying to jump into traffic in York in college. And they reckon that I kind of never dealt with that, so I've got this constant obsession that anything I do to anyone, if I say something wrong, if I maybe like report something, or like that person will kill themselves, right? So even if I had to report someone to the police, I'd feel like I'd kill someone by doing it, and it's like that OCD is really difficult. It plants that in your head that because later on I'm probably going to go, oh, I hope I didn't offend Antonia by anything I said. I hope I was oh, have I caused any pain or upset, and I'll do that. I do it all the time, and I hyperfixate on sentences typed out, and a lot of OCD stems from kind of you're going to kill someone with your behaviour. If I don't check the light switches, they might die. If I don't click the mouse 10 times while saying starburst, 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 it'll kill them. And it puts that belief system to the point where you obsess, and then you do all of the behaviours to avoid, And again, doctors, they don't take that very seriously. It's 6 to 12 CBT sessions, and I don't believe that works. It is a band-aid. It does not fix.
It is a band-aid.
That
sounds so exhausting as well, to constantly be thinking about your actions and how they might have affected other people. I mean, people struggle with that anyway. Just worrying about did I embarrass myself or something like that, let alone on that scale. That sounds so utterly exhausting.
Yeah, because I can't relate on an endo level because of the pain and the excruciating, but I can kind of say I do know, in a sense, what it's like to sort of just be fobbed off with nothing constantly, and not taken seriously, because it's just stigmatized. I think OCD is looked at, and it's like endo, stigmatized into a bad period, where now I don't suffer extreme sort of physical agony, right, but mentally it can be some days, and I think that it then borders on to the whole conversation about there's so many conditions in this world that are just not taken seriously. And then it's also, I suppose, when you sort of, you can then boil it down to what Bacardian said earlier, is it because we're sort of women and still such a divide, which again is disgusting, and there's so much discrimination. Would they investigate endo if it was a man?
That's a point that I come to quite a lot, and I've come to the decision of yes, they would.
Yeah, and how messed up. So we just live in a system where it's I love the NHS and everything they do, but my God, do some of them get it wrong. Just some of the individuals, and they don't take it seriously. Go and have a hug, or with you, it's
ridiculous.
Here's some paracetamol, here's some, or they lambast you for taking Nurofen Plus, but it's the only thing that makes it bearable, but they're not suggesting anything better. It's messed up, isn't it? And I just hope with our generation that is trying to sort of educate more and be open to these discussions, that endo and stuff is studied more, and the future of these conditions is,
yeah, I mean that's the. I don't think that there's going to be a cure that's going to benefit me. I hope that that's a wrong assumption to have, but and anything can happen. I'm still very young, but the fact that they're still discovering even just simple symptoms that you can get from it doesn't exactly fill me with hope. But I always worry that if I have a girl, when I eventually decide to have children, that they're going to have it, and I hope that by then there's something more to be done, because this isn't a way for people to live.
No.
At all, and we shouldn't be expected to live like this either.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's right to be then shouted at by a doctor as well when you're just trying to figure it out and have help. So I can completely empathise with why you get mad at these doctors, because you are being messed around, essentially, Um, so, Pixel says that sounds so exhausting. Really eye-opening to hear about OCD like this, and it's definitely not spoken about enough. No, it's not. I wouldn't have been able to tell you it warps realities. I didn't know that until recently, and I've had it for God, 17 maybe years or something, 18 years or something. It must be.
That's
Yeah.
something I find so ridiculous about these kind of issues, is that you can suffer from it from years and years and years and years, and you find something new about it still. It's like, how did how did nobody tell me?
Oh yeah.
How many people have I spoken to about this and nobody told me this? Like, it's the same situation with you. How did you go so many years with OCD and nobody thought to let you know
No,
or bring it up as a
yeah.
suggestion that that might be something that you could experience?
Genuinely didn't open up till I was 16 about it because I was terrified and fighting my own voice in my head. Like, I can sort of compare it to kind of like auditory hallucinations, but it's your own voice. So it's not anywhere near psychosis level, but you are internally having a massive argument with yourself 24/7. And mental health wasn't spoken about either in my school. And I'm not that old, I'm 31. So I was in school in the early 2000s, and I didn't know what OCD was until I broke down one day and couldn't handle it anymore. And then my parents were like, right, no, you need to go see a school counsellor. And it's like, and you know, the school counsellor sort of put a name to it, and then mum was like, yeah, no, I struggle with OCD as well. And you just don't know these things, and they don't teach you anything. It's just like endo. I mean, like Bacardian said, I think, because you said you found out because your mum, you know, but imagine if your mum didn't have it, then you wouldn't have. And it doesn't make it any easier either, because you're still in absolute agony all the time. And people find out about endo, sorry, you know, my English, you know, they find out about it so later on. It's not right. This world invests too much money in the wrong things when the answers could be right in front of them. Where it's just have a bit of empathy, have a bit of sympathy. Come on, you know.
Yeah, and I really like, if it I don't even know if it's a complicated illness to treat or cure, because like there just hasn't been enough research in it to even decide that, as far as I'm concerned. So, not that I'm saying it's going to be some simple, easy fix, and it's like, oh, you just have to do this. Like, I'm sure there's like it's going to be a complicated thing to figure out, but like it might not even be that complicated. That once you start putting actual research in it, the progress might be quite quick in terms of medical. Like, you just don't know. You have no idea. And that it should not be like that. That you have no clue, you know, where to even start, what to even think about curing it, if there even is going to be a cure one day. I think that the naming things as incurable is a very heavy thing to do to somebody.
Oh, yeah.
And there should be a lot of research done into something that is claimed to be incurable, because that's a life sentence.
Yeah.
You tell someone this is your life, this is it. That's not something to be taken lightly.
No, exactly. Ricardo says, I find OCD is trivialised to cleaning or being organised. I wish I had cleaning and being organised, I swear. I'd have a much sort of more tidier space if I had what it was trivialised to, let me tell you. But no, it's extreme, and you'll get there in the endo pronouncing exercise. I did. I studied all day and did the pronunciation. Endometriosis.
When you say it slow, you've got it. It's just that there's a lot of syllables.
Yeah. And I'm bad at English. Like, if you ever go back to the VODs, you'll like hear some of my sentences and they don't make sense, and I'm like, yep. But my therapist thinks that's like brain fog, that my brain is so active trying to figure out the next obsession that it's like brain fog, where I can't remember stuff, and or come out sometimes with sentences that make sense. So, but I think endo is another that's like brain fog is also another thing because of the agony. I'm sure.
That actually, yeah, that is something that like recently I've been trying to figure out what's going on with, because I have a very good memory. Like I was telling my mum about like this memory I have of us going to the zoo together, and a llama bit my dad's hand or something like that. Maybe no, I think it was a camel. And she said, "You were in the pram. You were like less than 2. How do you remember that?" So my memory, absolutely amazing. I have gotten to the point now where I can, like, my boyfriend will be talking to me, and I will be responding to him, and I have no recollection of, like, immediately have no idea that we were talking, have no idea what we were talking about, be completely confused when he brings up the conversation, like, "Oh, we spoke about it." I have no recollection of it at all. It's even happened mid-conversation, where I'll take a second to think about the word that I'm trying to say, and just stop talking, and then forget that I was even talking. That's happened like 1 or 2 times now. So I've been trying to figure out whether that's endo-related or not. If it's just that I'm exhausted, if it is some weird side effect, because once again, the side effects are absolutely wild out here. Whether it's my medication, like I have no idea. And that was what I was talking about earlier, where you have an issue, you have no idea what to blame it on, because endo covers so many things, and then you're on medication, and then you're taking painkillers, and then could it be something else? So I don't know if that is a symptom, but it is something that I've been trying to figure out lately, and I wouldn't be surprised.
It has to be with the pain, and then the constant sort of, you can't probably focus on anything but the pain, and it's probably hard to think straight, because I find with mine, like, your head's going a million miles per hour because you focus on what it's doing, and I forget conversations. So I imagine, like, the pain and the mental anguish that causes probably does cause so much brain fog, because you're so distracted because of,
At the very least, it doesn't help.
No, definitely.
That's how I see it.
Yeah. Pig says, "Oh, don't worry, I'm saying my words come out my mouth and turn into soup." I'm an expert at it. So, I am a massive expert at it, like, sometimes I'll say things that are just completely incoherent, and Bacardian's like, what are you trying to say? It's like, I don't even remember, sorry, like, but Bacardian says, "Oh, interesting, I'm doing that, but I also have mental health issues, which also causes that." Yeah, it could be maybe the endo and the combination of mental health.
It's
the therapist.
exactly. It's just. Sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry. The therapist said, like, it's just like when your brain is just constantly active, thinking about the one thing. It's hard to focus on anything, so you'll forget. Do you know how full my phone is of reminders? Like, I can't tell you, And I imagine it's similar with endo and other mental health conditions. And, well, pain conditions as well, because, I mean, my gran had osteoporosis, and she had an accident which ended up, for most of her life, being in complete agony for the rest of it, with her spine and everything. And it got to the point where it had zapped her of all her loves and wants, and she'd be depressed, and she'd just sit there, and the doctor would just give her paracetamol, and she actually went deaf because the doctor just kept prescribing paracetamol constantly, and she just wasn't taken seriously. And again, it's like another condition that it's like my mum has osteoporosis too, because there's like a high chance it kind of runs in the family, and they just kind of put her on a treatment. It didn't work, and they're just like, well, nothing we can do. Like, it's what,
It's so not good enough.
No, and it's like, so what? So I go to hospital, I go if you don't have a basic condition. I've been having liver troubles since 2016, actually, funnily enough, and they sent me away if I remember, Bacardian will be able to correct me in the chat. But they sent me away in 2016. They did a scan. They were like, yeah, no, you've got a bit of a fatty liver, and you can't get it worse. You can't make it worse. But they didn't give me advice, so I've started getting. I'm a list of problems. I started getting exhausted last year, and the doctor thinks it's possible ME, but then my liver started detecting on the blood test that I'd gotten stage 2 non-alcoholic liver disease. And it's all because they never set up a following appointment in 2016 to discuss how to stop that. Like, you know, it's, again, they seemingly look at something basic and they're like, yeah, we'll fix that. But anything that's complicated, they just leave. You know.
Even going back to like what we were talking about before, just logically, now that's going to cost more money for them to sort out.
Oh yeah.
So now it's worse for you. It's worse for them. It has been made worse for absolutely everyone. I don't know even what it is. Is it laziness? Is it just?
Yeah.
Like, what is it?
No, I know, they never really told me, like, what it was, and I was just like, well, okay, my guilty pleasure is probably fizzy drinks. Like, my diet's not too poor, I don't eat that much, but, like, 'cause I don't snack or anything like that, I have lunch tea, and I was like, well, it can't be that, because the calories going in are not but fizzy drinks. It's, like, bad. So, like, I got COVID, and I went off everything anyway, and then I went to, like, the hospital last, I don't know, I think it was like January maybe, and they were like, oh well, you've managed to get yourself out of it, and I'm like, how? You know, like, they're like,
accidental.
Yeah, you're not in stage 2 liver disease anymore, so you've gotten back on track, you know, you're fine, and we're just going to book an appointment to see what the damage is, and I'm just like, but how did this happen? You know.
I do want to specify, by the way, I wasn't calling you lazy. I meant the doctors being lazy. Okay,
no.
Good. Just checking.
Oh no, I understand. No. You know, and I got rid of it, and they were just like, that's fine. But then I said to them, well, look, I'm having these exhaustion symptoms where I am beyond tired all the time. I was falling asleep at the desk. I mean, I used to have an afternoon job at Wired, and I would almost fall asleep at the keyboard because I was struggling, and I was open about it. They knew, and you know, and also Safe in Our World knew. But I actually asked, was the liver causing that, which somebody said maybe, and then that doctor was like, nah, it's not causing these symptoms. Like, you have to go to the ME clinic, but to go to the ME clinic you have to jump through hoops, in which last week I had to go to an arthritis clinic to figure out if I had arthritis or not, which no, I was like, and I said to the doctor, like, I'm here, but this is probably a waste of time, I don't have arthritis. The hoops you jump through for medical things, and it's just starting to become a joke, and like, one doctor thinks it is ME, but then, like, if you go for ME, you get diagnosed, that's it. I'm like, oh, you know, like, really?
It is like, it baffles me in the sense of, like, the technology that we have today. I sound like a boomer now, but the fact that, like, that's an expected thing, that sometimes you can go to the doctors, they'll say, oh, we know exactly what it is. No idea what to do about it.
Yeah.
Like, what? We're not in. It just makes me feel like we're in the Middle Ages sometimes. You can't just say that to somebody and then send them home.
Yeah, I feel like in 2016, if they had said, like, okay, so to prevent the liver from getting worse, like, you need to do this, that, the other, and I would have followed it. Like, I follow what I'm told. I've not had many medical conditions in my life at all. It all seemed to just hit me when I was 30. Like, you know, I've been pretty medically sound, just mentally ill. But, like, everything else, and then, like, yeah, no, they left the liver long enough, didn't follow up on it, that I had, clearly some of my habits had, fizzy drink, I reckon, I probably, you know, sent me, it's like, yeah, by the way, your liver's, like, screwed, and now I've got an appointment in April to go and check the damage it did. So it's like, oh, that's grand that you could have caught that in the first place.
Even now, you're still umming and ahhing about like, oh, what was it? Was it the fizzy drinks? Was it
Yeah.
this? Like, you should. They can't even tell you like, oh no, it was probably like, this is probably why, and let's avoid this in the future.
Yeah. I mean, they actually, the funny thing is, the guy in January was like, yeah, so we'll book you an appointment to get your liver checked. And then it was like 4 months passed, and I was like, I've not heard back from them. Are they even going to check the damage? And then, yeah, I got like a random letter today, and it's like, yep, you come in about 20 days. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
The communication's very off as well. Like, you don't know when you're going, you don't know when to even expect the letter, you don't know when to take them up.
Exactly. And now they want me to do an X-ray for like arthritis, and I'm like, I don't have it. The doctor doesn't think I have it, but it's just like, can we please stop? I'm wasting your money here.
And your time.
Yeah, I know the condition. Let's just, no cure for it. Let's go. Bitpick says, I regularly get halfway through a sentence and my brain just gives up on the rest. Brain fog on its own is annoying enough, never mind the rest on top. No, couldn't agree more. And welcome in. How you doing? And Pixel Deer's like, bless, that's such a mood. And then Bacardian says, I wonder if at some point in the future the other half of the sentence will pop out, but by then you'll have forgotten the first half. Yes.
You just like spit out the last half. You're like, I don't know why I've said it, but it must be important.
Yeah. That's like when you're in the moment, or you're like doing a speech, and then you think of something really cool later. And it's too late.
I do the opposite of, I'll be saying something, and I'm like, oh, this will be cool to say, and because I'm scared that I'll forget it, I start saying it before I thought out the sentence, and then by that point, I don't know what I'm about to say, and then it just falls flat. So I get ahead of myself and I start saying it before I've completely forced out what I'm about to say.
Oh, no. It's
at least I started to say something cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because with Endo, I was like trying to practice it all day, then read the website, but then like I got to the point, I'm like, it's all gone. No, everything.
Danny, my friend, she still can't say it, so I've said, just call it Endo. Let's just shorten it. And also saying endometriosis every single time you're talking about it, especially because I talk about it. I think I talk about it quite a lot. A lot of people from work have said that I don't talk about it a lot, in like considering that I'm in pain all of the time. But it's a lot of effort to say the whole thing every time I'm complaining about being in pain or something.
You'd think they'd just like call it a bit something easier to pronounce. Some of these illnesses, they just, osteoporosis, another one. Like, it's I'm only able to say it because it's been in my family for so many years, and but no, it's shocking that we are in 2023 and women are in pain, being driven to suicide, and then yourself, who is missing out on some moments in your life that you'd like to live and have memories of being pain-free with no consequence, and doctors are just, and it needs to be talked about, because again, like in male-dominated industries, and I'd say like the games industry in some areas are,
yeah, no,
it's just
definitely,
it's not spoken about it enough. It's not covered enough, and then people say it's like, I did miss some comments. Sorry about. I do this. Like, Jake wants a fridge instead of a coffee. Yeah, and then Pixel's like, yes, I'll take a free fridge, thank you. And Kendra was like, the kettle's just boiled. Can you make me a fridge? What if you're going that way? Yeah. No, it's I to be honest, I hope that like in today, I've really enjoyed today's stream, like, because we've been able to educate and have a proper discussion.
Yeah.
I'm really pleased that we had this conversation. I have to say, it's been like really great talking to you, and I'm hoping like we will upload this VOD please pray to the Talk gods that my internet doesn't keep cutting off during the upload. But I will get this uploaded as soon as possible, and I think that I'd like to keep sort of putting this stream out there because I think it's beneficial to people who don't know about the condition. And it's, you know, I'm proving that men, we can talk about this. Stop irking out. It's an important matter. It needs discussing. Periods, endo, female, you know, the things that also females go through, we need to be mindful, especially with debilitating conditions like endo. So if there is anyone listening and somebody comes across this video, just please do a little bit of research and open your mind to it. I swear it won't harm you.
I definitely suggest, if you are interested, going and doing more research, because I haven't even, like, I have barely brushed the surface of what this condition entails. Like, what I mean, because just quickly, like, even like your immune system is absolutely wrecked because your body is so busy dealing with everything else. So I get, if there's a flu to get, I've got it. If there's a cold to get, I've caught COVID 7 times, and I wasn't gallivanting outside during lockdowns and stuff. So even that, there's just so many layers and there's so many levels to it that, like, you can't talk about in 2 hours, even if you just started to list them out. That if you are interested, and I would suggest that you do, just do a quick look, like, listen to, and I would say if you're going to get your information, get it from people who have endo. There is so much misinformation from medical professionals and from just even like actual medical websites. If you're going to get information, I would get it from people who have it. Get it from things like this where it's someone speaking about their experience with it, because that is the best, the most accurate information that you're going to get as far as I'm concerned. So I would definitely say this is just scratching the surface. Look into it a bit more and just be aware that just because somebody looks okay and they're going about their lives, that does not mean they are. That does not mean they're not in pain. It doesn't. Just be aware of that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And kind of said I made my nurse laugh early because I forgot the word PTSD and says edgy deja vu. Yeah. Yeah, or spicy deja vu we call it, because Bacardian has PTSD, and like she kind of, I think sometimes like making a silly word out of it just eases. Sometimes coping strategies are different for everyone, I guess. So sometimes if you can have some, I definitely have humour with mine to manage some things. Kentrot says a lot of times doctors just aren't in tune with pain in women at all. My wife went through probably 4 different clinicians with abdominal pain and was just fobbed off until she spoke to a nurse and says, "Oh, that sounds like your IUD might have shifted." Immediately referred to ultrasound, who confirmed it, and they had it out the next day. Yeah.
You just need to listen to people.
Oh yeah.
It is really simple. You just need to listen to people, and I don't get why that's so difficult.
It's an easy thing to do if you just, you know, learning is great. I've learned things today as well, and I think that it's beneficial to learn more, because I can only go from Bacardian's experience. So, you know, and the NHS website isn't going to help because it just says incurable, here's some symptoms, there you go. You know, it is a condition that I think you really need to sort of talk to the people that go through it on a daily basis, because sometimes the medical field is just a bit useless with it, and it's sad because that shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah, and I'm in no way like I'm not some doctor hater, and I don't listen to anything they say, and I'm just like, oh, I know better and all of that. But unfortunately, that has been my experience, is that on the whole, I actually do know better, and I have just been let down more times than I've been helped. Yeah. And so that's just been my experience. So I used to listen to every single word they said. I used to believe them if they said like, oh, you know, try this. I would trust them. and they've just kind of lost that from me.
Yeah.
And that's because they've broken that trust.
I understand, like, when they do that, it's just, you do lose your trust in the people. And yeah, we're not dictators whatsoever, it's just like, but it is, you know, it is a case of when they get it wrong enough and don't ignore you and then treat you like you have no idea, you start to get mad, and which is completely understandable, really, when you're not being listened to.
Yeah, and something I don't like is that they ask you a lot of like, oh, what's your pain today on a scale of like 1 to 10? Like, how bad does it get? I don't function on a 1 to 10 scale. As far as I'm concerned, my scale goes up to like 15, 20. And so I always say that. And then, like, if a doctor asks me, I will say I'm like an 11. That's how bad it gets. So it's not a scale of 1 to 10. And a lot of the times I've seen them actually roll their eyes at me and be like, oh, okay, right, whatever. So it's bad, basically. I mean, yes, it's bad, thanks. Just, it's very silly. I mean, a scale of 1 to 10 to describe someone's pain is ridiculous anyway. It's a bit more nuanced than that in general.
Oh yeah.
But they do. I have had doctors roll their eyes at me and stuff because I'm not on that level of 1 to 10. I'm every day I would say I'm at a 5, and on bad days it can get up to 8 or 10, and then luckily it doesn't seem, touch wood, it doesn't seem to get that to how it was before. But I used to be, I'd say 20 before I started the pill. So that scale of 1 to 10 is rubbish.
Yeah. The Guardian says they only list the basic symptoms on NHS. Yeah. Because they don't.
Yeah, that.
It's like the Guardian gets, like she said, jaw pains, knee pains. That's not listed. You know.
Yeah, I've also I've started to get really bad bloat. So after I had my laparoscopy, I was, I kept being told like, this is it, this is gonna fix you. You're gonna be absolutely fine after this. You won't have to be in pain anymore. And telling me that was insane. It was life changing, and it is like that for some. That's not a lie. It does make the pain go away for some people. At least temporarily, it will grow back. That isn't a cure, but you can temporarily laser it off, and it gives you a bit of relief. And like I said, I got worse. I started bloating really badly. I started getting something called endobelly, which adds into the mental health aspect because my body changed a lot in a very short period of time when I started getting it. Endobelly is when, because you're in pain, your organs are swelling, and there's just so much swelling in your stomach that sometimes it looks like I'm pregnant, depending on how bad it is that day. And they don't tell you about that. I had no idea about it. That started happening after my laparoscopy, and that's a really not nice thing to deal with. Your body's just completely changing and it's out of your control, and you have no idea why, and it's scary. And there's already so many things forced onto women about how they should look and how they shouldn't look and how flat their stomach should be. And so having your belly swell up when you're in pain, you're adding all of this extra pressure onto yourself to also look a certain way and feel a certain way. And it's just that part is awful as well, and that isn't told to you. Endobelly is, I have not heard ever the medical term for it. I don't even know if there is a medical term for it. I've heard it only from other people with endo, and that's how I found out about it. I don't know if my mum never used that term. I'm not sure if she's if she knew exactly what it was, but I know she gets the swelling as well.
Yeah.
So that's another symptom that has not been spoken about at all, and that can have a big impact on your mental health because you just feel so out of control of everything.
Yeah, Vicardian says, I thought that was normal. She's actually in shock because she just turned around to me just behind me and was like, so that's what that is, and she just found that out. And you know.
Yeah, and it's scary, and it makes you feel so out of control and awful because you can do everything. You can work out, you can run marathons, you can eat healthy, you can whatever, and that will happen every now and then. And if you don't know what it is, it's so frustrating. So you're like, well, what am I doing wrong? But it is. That's endo. I'm glad I could help a little bit. But yeah, that's endo. That's just when you're in pain.
Yeah. It's not right that, you know, they keep it sort of well, they just don't. They just it just feels like to me, like from talking about it, there must be a way they could discover to prevent the womb lining from spreading and growing in such an extreme. There's got to be some sort of cellular. They talk about the stem cell, sort of the cell, sort of. There's got to be something they could kind of do to,
There has to be.
you know, to prevent the womb lining from acting erratically. Some sort of chemical, some sort of cell treatment, something to prevent it from spreading. Like, so, remove any excess womb lining, and then a preventative from it ever. There's got to be something out there, you know, like.
You really would think that, you know, anything.
I mean, if
Anything.
me and you on a stream can go, there's got to be like this, that, the other. Why the hell is nobody researching it? You know, like that's the most shocking sort of thing, is that these people aren't looking into those. Because to me, it sounds like they could be a preventative measure. And I'm no medical person, so I could be talking rubbish, but you know, it doesn't come across to me as something that really is incurable. It's just like, this is incurable because we haven't figured it out yet. When are you gonna?
Yeah.
When are you know?
My friend Danny, when she found out that I have this, she did some research of her own, like figure out a bit what it was, and she found something that I had no idea about. The endometriosis timeline from when it was discovered. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. It was something ridiculous, like it was discovered, and 200 years later, they started raising awareness for it. Not even started looking for something to help it, just simply started raising awareness for it. 200 years after it was discovered. That is, I'm gonna say it's unheard of. I've never heard of any other illness where they found it and they've been like, oh, okay, that's what this is, and then said, all right, that's good for 200 years.
Yeah.
That's 200 years. That's a lot. That's like, that blew my mind. That completely blew my mind. They could just let it go for that long.
I think it comes back to, again, women's health just not being taken seriously enough. And in like a men's field at the time, they were like, right, yeah, here's some awareness. We ain't gonna do anything, and it's never changed.
I mean, I found out that they used to put women with like painful periods in asylums and stuff because they were just like, oh, she's crazy. Back in the day, so like. They weren't taking us seriously back then. At least they're not putting me. They're not like putting one of those coats around me or something. But still, that's so silly.
It's so wrong. Yeah. The Guardian says pain during ovulation is handy, but then you're not then in the mood, because one thing we didn't cover is what it can do to women, sort of. In a sexual way, you know, where it's a case of that sex can cause pain, ovulation can cause pain, and then we talked about fertility issues as well. You know, that's something that also is never discussed, and it's only tapped into slightly on the NHS page, but not much. Just pain during sex possible, not like why, how. You know.
And when you go into doctors as well and you complain about that, even if like, because when I go in and they say what are your symptoms, and I tell them like these are my symptoms, I have endometriosis, and I like make sure they're aware of that. Even then, I still get, well, have you gone to the clinic? Have you done this? Yes, they just immediately blame it on you not looking after yourself, on you not, like, I have checked out. Yes, it has nothing to do. They always blame it on that every single time without fail, and it's just, that's just lazy. That again is just them trying to send you somewhere else, get rid of you. And I understand that is a very common symptom of having an STI. But if I'm sitting here telling you I have endometriosis, I am diagnosed with endometriosis, I have had this for years, forever basically, then you can't turn around and blame it on that. It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
They always come around to blaming it on the person with it.
It's a joke. I think Bacardi, I think maybe men have never experienced it. If women, and if a woman doctor has, you're golden. But if they have no pain or minimal, they think you have a low pain threshold. Well, cis men, and then Pig says, "I'm not in an asylum," should be the lowest bar. Yeah.
Yeah. That shouldn't be like the, well, at least I haven't been tossed away.
Yeah. It's
something else that just is completely unacceptable, and I genuinely don't understand how this one has gone, like, has been allowed to carry on. We don't get free prescriptions, so anyone else who has a chronic illness, any other chronic illness, you get free prescriptions from the NHS, because obviously, even if the reason being is because, like, the only treatment is to have birth control, and that's already free. But the amount of infections I get, the amount of times I get ill and I have to take painkillers or antibiotics or some sort of medicine, and I don't get that for free.
That's wrong.
That's so ridiculous. And why? Because it only affects women. It's the only one I can think of that you don't get free prescriptions for, and it is a women's only issue. I don't even get how that's allowed to happen.
No, it's like pay for the privilege of being in complete agony through no fault of your own. You have to cope with it, and it's wrong. Yeah, because I imagine sometimes you probably question, can I keep working because of how much agony it causes, and I do wonder if the condition does sort of drive some to unemployment, which means that they can't afford the medicine.
Yeah, I mean, I do work, and even then, so a big pack of Nurofen Plus, or was it a small pack? No, I think it's a small pack of Nurofen Plus is like £9. The prices keep going up, and if I'm having a painful week, that might last me through the week, and that's a lot of money. I haven't added it up, but if I'm thinking about how much money I spend on painkillers, and because I don't just, I buy Nurofen Plus, I always have Nurofen Plus, Nurofen Express, and paracetamol, because I need Nurofen Express for my migraines that I also get. I need Nurofen Plus for my I don't take all of these together, by the way. Please don't take two types of Nurofen together. But I have Nurofen Plus for my endo, and I have paracetamol as a booster for both of those things. That is all of the painkillers I can get my hands on, and I have to pay for all of that out of pocket. That is so expensive. It is really so expensive. And I am working. I am well enough to work. So I can't even imagine if you're not working and you're having to pay for all of that by yourself, or what you would do.
No, it's bloody wrong. Welcome in, Agent Daxon. How are you doing? And Bacardi answered, sadly the painkillers, Nurofen and all that doesn't touch the pain whatsoever.
I mean, that's something that's becoming scary, is that because I'm having to take so much, I'm getting used to it. So codeine barely touches me now, the amount that's in Nurofen Plus anyway. That's why I've had to start taking paracetamol in tandem, because you get used to it. And when it was really, really bad, and still now, when it's really, really bad, it won't it sometimes doesn't. It still doesn't touch it, and I'm just sitting there like, well, I can't take anything else for another 4 hours at least. So this is just it. This is just it for 4 hours. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to try not to move, and that's it. That's all you can do.
That's just not right at all. But because I know, like, with the opioid ones, when I get really bad sciatica, like, I'll take those and they'll knock me out, and it's good enough. But those ones, which are near enough kind of used sometimes in with drugs, don't knock Bacardian's pain whatsoever. You're like, well, what would then? What does it take?
People, and I don't blame anyone for even not believing or not being able to understand, because it genuinely is an indescribable and unimaginable amount of pain. It really is. Because you just think, well, no one can be in that much pain just because they're on their period, or no one can be in that much pain all of the time. You do think that, and again, even I thought that when I first found out that it was chronic. I was like, well, there's no way. There's no way you can be in pain all of the time. But you can.
Yeah. It's just, I hope things change. I really do. Sooner rather than later. Oh, it's come up with a list
Yeah,
of...
we're almost done.
Oh, I think we have to, like, at least go until it's, like, 100%.
Yeah, we definitely do.
Like, please, Lara, don't mess this mansion up so much. You let it go. Did you not?
I don't know what she's done. Actually, to be fair, I have watched many MatPat videos, and I do understand the lore of Powerwash. I understand how it gets so dirty. So.
Oh, right. That's interesting. So what is it?
There is lore. So because they live, right. So I'm sorry if I get this wrong, but because they live in a volcanic area, it's because the volcano like keeps spewing out gases and stuff. And it turns out we're actually the villains of the story, because when you wash away ash, which is what the dirt is, with water, it becomes like this kind of like toxic gas that like infects everyone and gets them sick. So we're actually making everyone really ill. We're the villains of the story.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah, that's the lore.
Agent X said, I'm tired, sleep patterns still F from stress drama. I'm really sorry to hear that. There is, like, if you do feel that you ever need anybody to talk to, and sort of like, I think there are lines that aren't just crisis. There are a few text lines you can phone, but the safeinourworld.org site does have some helplines that might be quite good as well. But also, you're welcome to come here anytime, and we have a Safe Together Discord in which we sort of hang out and chat and stuff. So if you ever need a distraction, there's a place to go. Croft Manor is looking great, Ninja Nick. Yes, I think so. I was kind of thinking that perhaps Lara like hadn't cleaned it since Tomb Raider 2. Like,
I mean, maybe that's because I don't know if she lives in the same volcanic area that everyone else lives. I'm about to finish this off. Here we go, the last stretch.
oh, fantastic.
There we go.
We did it. Excellent.
We're only getting paid 400 quid for this.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think she's rich.
That took 200. That took 2 hours. We're only getting paid £400.
Wow. And she's rich in a mansion. She can't even leave us a tip. You know.
I mean, if the lore is correct, we have just made everyone horrifically ill with volcanic ash.
True. That is quite interesting. Agent X said good night's sleep will sort me out. Oh, that's good to hear. I do hope it helps. And Bacardian's like, has the butler cleaned the fridge? If he's my butler that I left in the fridge when I was like 8 or 9, then yes.
We were talking about this, weren't we? Just before the stream.
Yeah, the locking the old butler in the fridge. I bet he's texting from the fridge, you know.
I don't think you'd have connection in there.
No.
It's like an elevator.
Oh, that's
too
true.
much metal.
That's true. Ninja Nick says, shouldn't the butler be serving everyone fridge? Yes, it's so true. Um, Agent X said, also one of Blushing Crafter's friends. Yeah, yeah, we love talking to Blushing Crafter. They have they're one of our class of 2023 ambassadors. Um, but no, it's been a really good stream to sort of educate. I feel like this stream will always be so useful, and I'm really looking forward to like uploading this on the VOD channel, and I desperately want people to try and listen to your story, if it helps, because I do, like I said before, we need to learn more, and men, we need to talk more about this. Don't be afraid. There's nothing. It's not gross. It's not bad. If we listen, and more of us listen, more of us talk, maybe, just maybe, we can try and all together make it a more sort of, if you signpost more, then more attention will be put onto it, and maybe we could have a better future for the people that struggle with endo on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and I will say, because I don't want to, like, if anyone watches this and does have endo, and is like new to it kind of thing, your life isn't over. You can still do stuff. Like I'm going to download, for example, still. So it's just going to be different, and you'll figure it out. You'll figure out what works for you. You'll figure out how to handle your pain as best you can. So just don't think it's completely hopeless. It does feel like that sometimes, but it isn't. Your life doesn't end, and it's not over. So that's just I don't want it to be completely negative.
Oh yeah, completely agree. Yeah, so please, do talk. We always encourage, when it comes to mental health, physical health, anything, talking can be a wonderful thing. Um, Ninja Nick says it's not all
Nick.
gloom and gloom. I suppose, yeah, that's like quite a cool analogy, but
Oh, wait, I can't with his what are they called? He's laughing in the other room. When I've forgotten what it's called when you make something sound like something. Oh, puns. Those
oh,
all. He's
puns.
always with the puns.
Oh, puns are perfection. Me and Anne, we're just like puns all over the place. Um, but yeah, thanks so much, Antonia, for coming on. That has to be one of the best streams I've ever had, because I think we went into so much detail and had like a really good conversation about it. And I think that for the positive aspect, we could help people not feel so alone. And if you want to use this video as an educational, for educational purposes, then please do. It's been fantastic having you on. That has been incredible. I can't thank you enough for coming on and.
Well, I should be saying thank you. I mean, the reason I came on is because I'm always, like, everyone will say, I'm always moaning, complaining. No one knows what it is, and all of this. And so I really appreciate you giving me like the platform to talk about it and to do what I'm always complaining doesn't happen, and discuss it and open up that conversation. So thank you more than anything.
Oh no, I'm really happy that we could do this. Because when you came to me with the idea, it was like perfection. It was like, we're doing this. This is happening. And then luckily it fell on the Endo month. Endo awareness month. So it's more like it's perfect. And yes, thank you to everyone in chat that shared their stories as well. We really appreciate it, and it does mean the world to us that you open up to us and feel comfortable enough to do so. So yeah, if you do need some helplines on our website, we have safenourworld.org. We will upload this VOD to Safe in Our World VODs, the YouTube channel. I'll also link that in Discord, and then hopefully have a post up on socials probably next week, just shining a light again. I think this needs shining a light on. And I hope you all have a fantastic day. I will probably send a raid out to Mayamada, who is playing The Last of Us. So thank you all, and I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week.
Thank you everyone for listening to me complain for 2 hours.
Oh no, not complaining. No, it was really educational, and I really appreciate it. I think it's going to be. I think this is something that people can use to not feel so alone. And if I always say, if you can change if you can make a difference to one person, then you like. And I think this will make a difference to more than one person.
Oh, I really hope it does. I hope I can do something.
Oh, I definitely think it will. So thank you so much. I shall
Thank you too.
I shall launch this raid if I've used the right command this time. Yes, I did. So thanks everyone. Thank you. Should raid in a second. And there we go. Okay.